Hey YouTube, it's your girl Duchess back with another recap, and this time, y'all, Carlosking gave me a little soup with my Love and Marriage Detroit tea. I really enjoyed this finale. So much to take away from. Finally, we get some, some married couples that we can relate to, that I can relate to. That I ain't gotta just learn what not to do. I want to know what to do. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I enjoyed it. I really did. Let's get into this recap. All right, so let's start with the fellas. Brandon, I liked his storyline. I like that he made it back in the home. I like that they gave us just enough, he and his wife, just enough to kind of, let us know which direction they were going in, but gave us the results. You know what I mean? Like, if there were messy parts or parts that were ugly, I didn't miss it. Let me just say that. Okay? So that's Brandon, right? My favorite moment from their storyline was when Brandon was vulnerable with Russell and he told Russell what was going on in his marriage. Like, he told Russell that he wasn't in the home or whatever, and the way Russell showed up for him. So that was, even though it didn't have much to do, that didn't have a lot to do with him and his wife directly. The vulnerability that he gave, and he was very vulnerable. He did an interview, which Brandon, I don't know what Brandon's last name is, but anyway, he did an interview with Dustin that Carlosking aired, and in that video he was even more transparent. So much is so that the way that I read him in the beginning, it kind of changed a little bit. So that was kind of like my favorite moment from their interaction. Here's what I'm going to say about the men. I love that when Brandon, did what he did for his wife's birthday, right? Because I want to give this recap in a way to kind of support this cast. Like, go over there and just give it a check out. It's on demand. Like, check it out. I want to see them support it because I do like the way that they represent it. So they should be rewarded for that, because it kind of gave us what we are looking for in terms of, the reflection of us on TV. I think they did a pretty good job. So anyway, back to the men. I love how they held him accountable in terms of getting back in the home. I love how they held Brandon accountable. They were there for him. They listened, they supported. They were supportive of his wife. They were respectful. I want to see them keep an eye on him even in a slippery slope, right? Because, and I realize that these friendships are, like, even in this season, you see them working on really having a solid friendship, right? So I realize this is must-see TV kind of thing, right? But even so, with saying that, I have to ask the men, how did he get here if you guys were this supportive and had all of these things in place? And I'm not saying that what I watched wasn't true. What I'm saying is, keep that thing going. Don't take him off of your radar. The same support that you gave when it was on life support is the same support that should be given when everything appears to be all good. Because I still got my good eye on Brandon, honey. I don't know if he's just giving us what we want to know. I mean, I have to be honest. Or if he can kind of stand the long haul. If you look at his face in this picture, where it's looking like, yeah, Detroit slickest. You know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta be honest, keep your eye on Brandon, but keep these great conversations going. They have difficult conversations. They address things like men, in my opinion, more so than what I see in other areas. And even when they disagree, it stays watchable, entertaining and watchable. I love seeing the guys together and their dynamic, and keep those good, tough conversations going, honey, because it look like it's more things that need to be addressed, and address it like men, like you do. So I love that. I think it's a good base for a group of married men. You get a little bit of variety. You get a little bit of variety. Russell is, child, he about 2 steps from being one of them Bama husbands. And I mean that I mean that with love, Russell. I'm not trying to be shady at all, honey, but sometimes, the anyway, I like Russell though. You know what I'm saying? So, but Russell is every bit of a Southern Baptist. He is just a good husband. He ain't out here doing whatever, and his wife will pull up, and his wife don't play, and he know that, so he governs himself accordingly. But you have him that is very straight-laced. That you have Brandon, which is kind of like he knows better and he knows what he's supposed to do, but can you trust him to do what he's supposed to do? You know what I mean? But he is showing himself to be aware and remorseful and willing to work and do what he needs to do. So you got that one. Even as far as the extreme, like, girl, why you still there? You know what I'm saying? It's a good mix of reality men who are truly married, that are really doing things in the city, and they have their own mess. And then let's get to that guy. What is his name? I want to call him Vito, but that is not his name. But that one right there, he needs some attention. Let me just say that. He needs some attention over there. So let's talk about the ladies. Koby is probably my favorite wife. Like, she's pregnant. She's in her marriage. She's opened her marriage up to the world to see. She's vulnerable. She's honest. She's aware of herself, She takes accountability. She wants to do the right thing. She's caring for her daughter, Kendall. She's taking care of the home. And she's holding her husband accountable for the most part. It's going to be interesting when she has to have the tough conversation with Russell, that she really has some areas she's not happy with, and how they navigate through that. In Russell's defense, I suspect that there is a lot of pressure to be the perfect husband. And I won't go too far into it because this is really about Koby, but she's probably my favorite. Not probably. She is. And one of the things that I love about her is even when she has to correct Russell or kind of like have a Russell no moment, like when their auntie asked, what's the name? Can I name the baby? And Russell was like, Kai or something. She was like, Russell, no, like we haven't decided that yet. And he was like, well, I said Russellina, and she wouldn't. Anyway, I like their dynamic. She sticks up for her friend. She doesn't really raise her voice, honey. And if it get too whatever, baby, she is exiting stage left. Like, I'm out of here. So Koby is my favorite wife. So let's talk about the ladies. My favorite friend combo with the ladies is Koby and Dr. Thompson. That's Anthony's wife. I can't think of her name right now. They are my favorite friend dynamic. They have good communication. They have each other's back. There's a healthy benefit to their dynamic. I like them together. So I did like that friend combo. And they're not like team mean girl, I don't think. Like, just because you don't like her, I don't like her. Like, I don't think that they're like that. I think it's a healthy friendship dynamic, and I like them. I want to see them have more fun. They seem to be a serious duo, but they are my favorite friend combo. But Anthony and Dr. Thompson, they are my favorite couple dynamic. They are committed. They have their children. They have good communication. Their temperament is just normal. It's not an assertion of dominance in their communication. You know what I mean? They still seem to have fun left in their marriage, in their friendships, and that kind of thing. And they're doing real, they have some great things going on that you're able to see how that can impact the community. You're able to see that this may be something that you can do. Like Dr. Thompson, I believe she's a physical therapist, don't get me twisted. She may even be into sports medicine or something like that, but she has her own practice, and it has to do with yoga and some health and wellness. She's doing her thing, and she's licensed to do it, and it looks great on her, and it's her own thing. And her husband, he works wherever he is. He has a not-for-profit legacy piece because it's something that his dad started, and he's keeping going with the men, mentoring the youth, and actually giving to the community kind of thing. So, and they're balancing it all. Like, I like their dynamic with each other. So they have to be my favorite couple. I think this is a good mix, y'all. Like, that alone is a good mix. And then you have some other curveballs thrown in there. So let's get to my favorite moments. I already talked about Russell and Brandon, right? When Brandon was able to be vulnerable with Russell, and how Russell got emotional. What was very interesting for me is the impact on the ladies. Like, the wives were empathetic. They didn't want, they hated to hear something like that. They didn't send any negative energy her way. Whether they reached out to her or, got into her business or anything like that, it's clear that this is a two-way relationship, and I don't even know if it would have been welcome. And maybe they intuitively or knowingly knew that. But what was important for me is that they kind of they were like really concerned. It wasn't a gossip thing. They didn't spend episodes and episodes talking about that. They all had their own things. They acknowledged those moments. They gave their sentiments, whether directly or indirectly, and they kept it moving. How refreshing. But listen, Auntie coming in to see Koby and that whole conversation is a close second. The only reason why Auntie's visit didn't take number one is only because she's not a regular presence in the cast, and I thought the cast and I didn't think that would be fair, right? But her contribution, just that element, the respect between her and Russell, and how Russell wasn't just off doing anything, or that wasn't an opportunity for him to get away from his wife. Like, he was right there, present, asking questions, and Auntie was answering them. It was just a really genuine moment. And to me, it was the conversation that a lot of women would love to have with their auntie. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was some goodness that was gleaned from there, and Auntie had experiences that were relatable, that caused Koby to kind of really, really check in with herself. And the biggest theme of that all was, God knows what he's doing. And he knows what he's doing. And this thing is bigger than us. And sometimes we have to sacrifice. Granted, I understand that women have the experience, we as women have the experience of sacrificing so much more, and that has to be a line drawn in the sand. And it's not going to happen overnight. Prayerfully, Russell will be on board, and Koby doesn't have to reduce herself to being a bed mattress in order to, you know what I'm saying? Because I still think that her feelings are valid. But I agree with her auntie when she said, well, you got to get over that now. It's time. Just go ahead and succumb to God and say, okay, what am I supposed to do with this gift? Because you don't make mistakes. And if we go down any road of all the negative stuff, then essentially what you're saying is, I made a mistake. And this is a woman who was very angry with God, who had to forgive God and come to terms with something that she still don't fully quite understand, but she trusts him. You know what I mean? And so, man, that was just beautiful to watch, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And yeah, so the only reason why that wasn't my favorite moment was because, she's not a regular cast, but man, that was refreshing and it's so needed. And so, honey, that's when the ingredients of the soup kind of start getting in there. Like, this was more than just tea. That was some soul food going on in there. My least favorite moment, the lunch scene with Kristen, Brandon's wife, and the one who, is Brandon's wife, this other man's wife that I didn't really catch their name, but she is the one who had the issue with the phone. Like, your friends were laughing at me having an Android and you were okay with that friend. And so they're having a lunch meeting or a meal meeting, to kind of hash through their issues. And it was obvious to me that the girl who had the props and was like throwing things on the floor, like, you're trash, this is your trash, get your trash, like that kind of thing, that she came there she was prepared for that type of energy. Like, she didn't have intentions on making amends. It seemed to me that she had intentions on Christina, if that's her name, chime in these names, the one who wants the singing career that's married to Brandon. Like, basically, either she fall on her sword and admit to all these things so we can move forward, I'm getting ready to drag her. And her girls are like, oh yeah, girl, that's a good prop. Oh yes, do that, honey. Like, it was given must-see TV. It was so embarrassing, unnecessary. And I like the way old girl didn't like raise up on her. She was just like, listen, you keep trying to take these digs and make me look bad. That's just a reflection on you. Clocked it. Okay? And I love that she clocked her. And you can see that spirit like, whoop, you saw her glitch a little bit. Girl, she glitched. That spirit glitched. Like, it was a little, uh-oh. Yes, ma'am. Child, that spirit be in there. I didn't have a funniest, but that was the funniest. Oh, child, I'm a little too tickled. That was a little too much right there. But that was my least favorite scene, honey. But I like the way she clocked her honey iced tea. Clocked her. Okay, the ladies did have a brunch. I'll give that as an honorable mention. I thought that was very productive. This is over the whole season. That just wasn't in this episode. But there were enough enjoyable moments with the ladies that when there was something that was not so pleasant, you know, you got to break it up some kind of way, right? So it wasn't something like, oh my goodness, I can never watch this again. I enjoyed it. You know, I thought it was a good base. With the men, with Anthony had his event for the youth or whatever, right? And so he had speakers. He had guest speakers come, and there were quite a few, okay? And so Vito, the guy that I call Vito, he came to the event, right? But he felt some kind of way, because he was invited to be a speaker to the first one, but he wasn't invited to be a speaker to the second one. But I'm gonna come here and support anyway. But I've told him that I wanted to volunteer. I told him that I wanted to get into community. So I don't really understand why I'm not on the speaker list. That was like unpleasant for me. Like, bro, you're supposed to have your own thing. Like, you're spending time away from your family to nurture these business relationships and all these moves and shakes that you're doing in the city. You know what I'm saying? What's wrong with you doing your own event? Like, what's wrong with you getting into the community? There are a lot of ways that you can get into the community without having to be on a stage speaking to children. That tells me that your heart is not really in the service of it. I'm just saying. Like, why would there be beef? He had speakers. These speakers had experiences. You know what I'm saying? Give the man some experience that he'll think of you next time at this level of his event. Why are you really there? Giving opportunists. Was that too mean? I hope that wasn't too mean. But I just have to be honest. Like, I didn't appreciate that. That was not a good look for him, you know. But he did come and he was not problematic. So I will appreciate him for that. This conversation that Brandon and Anthony had, you know, about Chelsea and the way that he talked to Chelsea, and Brandon thinks that he owes Anthony an apology, and Anthony went completely left in a respectful way. But in his confessional, he was like, ninja. I know you lying. Come to my event late and not even 5 minutes into you ask me about this bird. And then here the other one thing too over there, like, well, at least he ain't calling her. It was something else he could be calling her, you know, like, take that. So, but he did agree to, you know, making sure that he stays out of her way, you know, not causing any problems for Brandon. And that's really all you're gonna be able to give. And y'all, I can't tell who was right or wrong. I thought he had a valid argument with him saying, you know, Chelsea don't fool with our wives like that, and you brought them into that environment, and then you watch the disrespect. Like, I done had time to talk to my wife, and I'm gonna ride with my wife. So no, I'm not about to apologize to her. And even if I wanted to, you think I'm about to tell my wife I'm gonna apologize? He did not say all that. But let me just say, there is mutual respect in these marriages. Listen, y'all need to tell me what y'all think, because I don't know who was right or wrong in that. I was just kind of tickled at how animated Anthony was. I mean, you know, help me with that one. This was good. I liked Love and Marriage Detroit. I appreciated the representation. I appreciated, it was some good TV. I would love to see them back. I would definitely support them. I want to support this cast. There was not one cast member that made me say, they deserve to be supported. They're not giving us all the other stuff, honey. And, you know, we even had a good auntie on the show. She don't need to be a regular, okay? But these moments when there is tension about a situation, it's good to have let me choose my words. It's good to have a more senior family member on the scene. Shout out to Love and Marriage Detroit, y'all. It's your girl Duchess, and I'm out.